It's a mad, 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 mad world, but it's ours, so we might as well enjoy it. I know there's a lot going on tonight, so I appreciate you joining me as we lampoon the news. I'm your man.
Ishi Hakase.
We're here to bring you the funny, the weird, the strange, the unbelievable, the stupid, the refreshing, maybe even something a little provocative. So grab your drink and your snack, kick back, and let's get to it. So I'm here at Pub Street in Phnom Penh. And if you've ever been there, you might not believe your eyes. There is a lot going on there. A lot of fun, a lot of strange happenings. Some things that sometimes you can't quite explain, and if you could, you wouldn't tell anybody. So Phnom Penh, I can't wait to see you again, by the way. So sometimes you can't believe what you're seeing. And that reminded me of a trip that I took to Des Moines with a couple of colleagues. So what happened? I was working on this big project with about 7 or 8 other colleagues, and we had this big meetup with another group in Des Moines, Iowa. So we had to take an early flight, get to the airport about 5 o'clock in the morning, get on this charter, fly about an hour and a half, 2 hours to Iowa. Then there was a time change. So we land in Iowa. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. We're all still really tired from having to get up at like 3:30 in the morning to get to the airport on time, et cetera, et cetera. You know the routine. We hop on this charter bus, little small bus like a jitney, and went on our way to the meeting. And some of us are a little groggy, but everybody on this bus is very, very quiet until we pull up to a traffic light. And we see this convenience store. And we're looking at it. And then we're looking at each other. And then we looked at it again. And nobody said anything. And then our youngest colleague, this was her first job out of university. She was 22 years old. And she was sleeping on the bus. But you know how it goes when you're riding along on a bus or an automobile. As long as it's moving, you're fast asleep. But as soon as it stops, you wake up. Well, anyway, this young lady wakes up. She blinks her eyes. She rubs her eyes 2 times. And then she says, "What?" And at that point, we all start laughing on the bus because in our disbelief, we were looking at a store by the name of Come and Go. Now, Come and Go is this chain of petrol stations and convenience stores. It's headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa. We had never seen it before, of course, but this name is filled with innuendo and double entendre.
Yeah, so if somebody can explain this, that would be great.
Well, I'm actually happy to explain that to you, Karen. These are awkward figures of speech in which the wording is devised to have double meaning. So one is a very obvious meaning, but the other one is typically sexually subjective or suggestive. It could be offensive to some, and sometimes it's just like completely whacked out and we don't understand. But we know that companies do these things very deliberately, like in the film Meet the Parents. And you might remember the main character was later revealed to have the name Gaylord Fokker. And the subsequent sequels actually made fun of that. So they came up with Meet the Fockers and Little Fockers. And some people didn't immediately get the joke. Others got the joke right away. But again, that was done very, very purposefully. But then every now and then, somebody is just completely unaware. And they don't do it on purpose. So I gathered up 10 business names and signs, whether done on purpose or maybe from a position of ignorance or unawareness, that I thought would entertain everybody just for about 15 minutes tonight. In no particular order. I'll start with number 10, and I mean no particular rank order. So let's start with number 10. We have to go to our old internet favorite, Megaflix. This is a public service announcement, people. Font choices and the use of all caps is very, very important. What is also very, very important is that someone else proofs your work. Because the early days of the internet and Megaflix have given us lots and lots of joy around the faux pas behind this sign. Now, it's very, very unlikely that this company is no longer in business, but lesson learned. Now, as an aside, someone that I knew also designed a poster for a college event which read, "Flicks for free," also using all caps and an awkward font. And if you take the model from Megaflix and do a poster that says "Flicks for free," you'll notice that that poster got lots of attention around campus. Number 9, from Louisville, Kentucky, Puff Puff Pass. Now, this was obviously done on purpose. This is a head shop exploiting the line from the movie Friday, or maybe it came from the Chappelle Show. And it's, of course, very, very humorous. But remember, never F up the rotation. It's Puff Puff Pass or Puff Puff Give. But you'll get hurt if you mess up the rotation. Then we jump to a campsite in the UK called Sandy Balls. And this all depends on how it comes out of your mouth. You could say Sandy Balls, Sandy Balls, Sandy Balls. But there is an awkwardness depending on how you say it. Now, I'll give Sandy Balls some credit. They recognized that their identity or their brand was starting to get a little stale, so they cleaned it up, made a fresh new sign, and of course, when your Sandy Balls get a little rusty, it's probably time to clean those things up. Number 7, Pass More Gas. Pass More Gas from Lake Havasu, Arizona. And we know what happens here. The founder of the company was probably named Mr. or Mrs. Passmore. And they started this propane or natural gas company and then did very well. And then their business got a little more focused in a particular area, and they decided that they were going to shorten the name. And now we have the joy of snickering every time one of their trucks rolls by to remind us that it's okay to pass more gas. I actually can't wait to see someone wearing these uniforms, like somebody that comes and delivers the gas and says, "Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah," and you're looking at their name tag and it says "Pass More Gas" under it. All right, you guys get the picture. Number 6, stoner drugs. Stoner drugs? All right, stoner drugs out of Hamburg, Iowa. Here we go, Iowa once again. We know what a stoner is. It's a dropout or somebody that smokes a lot of weed. But cannabis is not legal in Iowa. But if they were to change the law, stoner drugs, you are all set up to pivot to a dispensary. So I actually give you a lot of credit for being somewhat forward thinking in the name of your establishment. Now, we know that, companies need investors, obviously, to get off the ground. And it looks to me from the sign that Scooby-Dooby-Doo is their biggest investor, because that SD inside of that diamond looks exactly like the dog tag worn by our favorite Great Dane, Scooby-Doo. Moving along to number 5. Yes, Dumas's Tacos out of Tomball, Texas, which I believe is north of Houston. Now, obviously, when you are going by very, very quickly, this could be very easily read as dumbass tacos. But I give them, Dumas, I give you credit because you've embraced the idea. So I had to check out your website. And I like this caption that they have on their website that says, you too can be a Dumas customer. And they're selling swag, and their identity is like a burro or a jackass. And, I wonder, what do they call their customers? Dumases? Well, I think maybe they're, again, forward thinking like stoner drugs and trying to get ahead of this curve where we're taking words and we're flipping the meaning. So like bad and dope, and that's fire, might have had a negative connotation. Now it's a very positive or favorable connotation. All right, so we'll see what happens. I have a very good friend in Houston. I hope you're out there and I hope you're listening. Tell me how the food is. Number 4, and I need to take a deep cleansing breath. Dirty Dick's Crab House in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I don't know what else we can actually say about this. We could maybe just stop at Dirty Dick's, and that would have been enough. But then when you add, Crab House to that, and do I really want to get crabs from Dirty Dick's? I'm not sure you all understand what's happening here. And then could it get better or worse? Yes. When I encountered Big Dick's Halfway Inn. Wow. Big Dick's Halfway Inn, located in the lake or at the Lake of the Ozarks. And there's really not much else to say about this. But just as an aside, I haven't been to the Lake of the Ozarks. And from what I see from the Netflix show Ozark, to me, it would be a very, very scary place. But I will tell you, that is a great, great show. It's very dark, and it's not for everybody, but I would recommend definitely checking that one out. Because my favorite character on that show is Ruth Langmore, who's got the biggest potty mouth I have ever encountered on television. And I just love the scene when her uncles stole her stash. She had some money stashed away, and her uncle stole the money so they could buy 2 bobcats. Because according to them, there's lots of money in exotic pets. And when Ruth found out and confronted them by gunpoint, it is still one of my favorite lines from that show.
See a pair of balls on either of them?
God damn it, boy. I told you 3 times to check the undercarriages.
So, word to the wise, if you are going to buy 2 bobcats to have them breed so you can sell the bobcat kittens, you make sure you check the undercarriage. Make sure one of them has a set and the other one doesn't. Moving on. Number 2. I always said it, I've said it for many years. Spell check is free. We don't have any more excuses on misspelling things. We have so many resources that say, oops, that's not the right way to do that, and then we have a correction. But in thinking about this a little more, this is obviously the clever work of some local prankster that took those letter forms and just kind of moved them around to read jalapenos poopers. I haven't had jalapenos poopers before, but the price looks pretty good. It's 8 for $2.99. So if you're ever at a, whatever this chicken establishment might be, ask them if it's still on the menu. And I just wonder how long it took the store manager to actually notice the sign. Not long enough before somebody took some pictures of it and put it out there on the internet. And number 1. Yes, it's true. There is an intersection in New York near the Hudson River, Cumming Street and Seaman Avenue. And I want you all to just envision living in that area and having to give someone driving directions. And then they ask you, well, what's the intersecting street? And then you describe it to them. They wouldn't for a moment take you seriously. And if you ever do have to give somebody directions or tell somebody the corner that you live on, do not leave off the suffix. So sometimes we'll say things like, Broad and High, or, Broad and Market. You make sure you say street and avenue. It is critical. That was my 10, but like any good infomercial, but wait, there's more. I have one more little bonus that I encountered very recently. And I went to a bubble tea shop here very close to me with a few colleagues. And while we were waiting, one of my colleagues' eyes got really big and she exclaimed, "Oh my heavens, why? Why?" So I had my back to the sign. I turned around. I saw what she was responding to. And I just closed my eyes for strength. Because there it was. And the problem is, remember people, once you see it, you can't unsee it. As I said, we got a lot going on today. I'm going to let you guys get to it. I do want to remind you, of course, that you matter. You're very important. And make sure if you're struggling with anything that you talk to a friend, you talk to somebody in your family, you get the assistance that you need, because we really do have a lot of positive things out here in the world. Although we have been shut in and inconvenienced by COVID in so many ways, but we're going to get out of it. We just have to stay strong and we have to stay connected with one another. So I appreciate you checking in. Make sure you subscribe. You know why? Platform won't let you do anything unless you have subscribers. You can tip if you want, and if you have news, whether it's weird or funny or shocking or goofy or generally unbelievable, send it along. Put a link in the